Finally, the moment a couple of you have been waiting for.
It's all like bing bong, Jack.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Duval and St. Johns County. The show for Jag fans by Jag fans.
You can't have a newcomer come in and steal the show.
Here are your hosts, Franklin and Michael how you say it? DeZoba. Welcome to the Jaggernaut Podcast. Jacksonville, how you feeling out there? Never mind, I know how you're feeling. You're feeling miserable because your team played miserably. We had a chance to take down the Chiefs.
Only some of our team.
Say what?
Only some of our team. Our defense and special teams did well.
Yeah, but, I mean, the results. Hey, you play as a team, you die as a team, right? That's how it works. The team failed.
Say.
The team failed, and that's the bottom line. There's a number of different things we could talk about, and we'll get to those. But to summarize, I'm going to use what my wife said because I thought it made sense. That was a weird game. That's what makes sense to me. So when people ask you, Mike, what happened to the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Chiefs? What do you say?
I say it's the same thing we've been talking about on every podcast since last season ended. The offensive line. The offensive line was the biggest issue to me. We talked about it after the Colts game, right? We cannot get short yardage. How can we not get a effing yard? A effing yard. With 300-pound men, we can't get a yard. It's so bad that trickled down into play calling. And in first and goal from the 1-yard line, instead of doing a simple run, we chose a quarterback option that resulted in a 4-yard loss. Why? Because our offensive coordinator has no confidence that our O-line will be able to open up enough space to get a yard.
Let me stop you right there. Your point's valid, but it needs a little bit of correction. It wasn't the offensive coordinator who chose that. It was Trevor. He made the decision without anybody's knowledge to pull that ball and on an option. It was a called run. That was verified. Actually, I'm pretty sure this is verified. People in the comments, y'all can correct us if I'm incorrect.
Him.
First of all, yeah. Well, hey, we're a team,
So
son. We're a team, son. If I'm the offense, you're the defense, vice versa.
The run was a called option run. Trevor had the option to pull the ball if he saw the defensive end crash down. He saw the defensive end crash down. What he didn't see was the corner crashing down too, that ultimately caused him to try to outrun the corner, which he was not able to do.
Right. Well,
okay, so
here's the thing, though. Here's where I'm at. If it's a call by the offensive coordinator, or if it's a decision that's made in the moment by the quarterback, they both speak the same language, which is they don't trust a simple handoff because they know what you said, just to start this off, what we've been saying this whole time. The offensive line does not have the ability to push a yard and get a yard. They just are not capable of it. We've seen it now it's weird too because I started thinking about this. How long has this been a problem? This was a problem before Urban got here. Remember how Urban, we were like, why didn't they address the offensive line? And even back then, to the media's credit, I think they were actually asking Urban that question a few times. Why didn't you address the offensive line? And if you remember, he was saying something which, unfortunately, Peterson sounds a lot like Urban, because he said today he doesn't have a problem with the offensive line. He believes in the offensive line. And I'm going to get to specifically what he said, but
well, I'm glad he believes, but they're not producing.
Well,
If you
that's
go back and you watch that game field, Kansas City was one guy lived in our backfield. And he went up against the center. He went up against the guard. He went up against the tackle. He went up against the center guard combo and probably a guard tackle combo and still lived in our damn backfield. What pisses me off is they simply could have moved a back over there to help Harrison if he's so disruptive.
yeah.
Chip him on the way out. And they did nothing. So there's something wrong when it comes to our offensive line.
That's a fair criticism of the offensive coordinator is they didn't chip. They didn't help Harrison. The thing I do think, so when you don't have a tight end over there, and that's the thing too. I mean, come on, Brenton Strange is supposed to be this new weapon that we brought in, and by weapon I mean somebody on the offensive line that can block on the edge, and they didn't have him over there very often. So when that happens, what I'm kind of thinking is they're putting the onus on the quarterback to see the defense, see the pressure, take advantage of it by understanding the routes, knowing who the hot is, and getting rid of the ball. The other thing that exacerbated and it needs to be said, the bad play by the O-line was the bad play by the quarterback. Trevor played bad. I mean, he couldn't throw the ball good. I mean, and we can talk about the decision to pull it and run, whether it was part of the design of the play or whether he made a snap judgment, because he's done that before where it wasn't actually part of the design, just decided to do it, and it's worked for him before. Or whether we talk about the fact that he just can't seem to find guys that aren't on the outsides of the field to throw to. He's throwing everything out of bounds for some reason and making these guys have to perform circus catches to even have a chance to make it. And so, yeah, you get into the red zone, 4 red zone trips at least, I think.
I think it was
and
4,
we
yeah.
didn't come away with a touchdown. So that's the biggest problem. I mean, when you come away, and it's funny because when you think about this, if you said, okay, we would win the turnover battle handedly, special teams wasn't going to be, I wouldn't say it was in our favor per se, but it definitely wasn't against us. We limit Mahomes, decently speaking. We limit Kelsey. We win this game. I mean, you tell me that, we win this game. That's what made it weird. It's like, what? This was a race. It was a weird race of mediocrity against these two teams. And we see this sometimes where you get these juggernauts where I've seen it even where you think you got these two defensive teams coming together and for some reason the offenses go off. But you do see it from time to time. And I would say this is even more common where you get these two offensive firepower together against each other, and for some reason it's a defensive struggle. It's a weird situation, and that's what we saw. And it wasn't just the defense was playing good, and both defenses played good, no question about it. But it was also the offenses just were out of sync with each other, or with themselves. We can say our defense played good, but come on, I mean, Jawan Taylor helped us. They just made, bad decisions, and I'm sure we forced them into some things like that. So I don't want to take everything from our defense and minimize that, but yeah, I think we had an opportunity, unfortunately, and as Evan Ingram said, we left a lot on the field, and I tend to think what they left on the field was like a giant gleaming teal turd for the crowd.
For the home crowd? Well, I guess it's a good thing a lot of them had red on. And I'm wearing red because this is just Bloody Monday because I feel like I got beat the shit out of. This ain't Chiefs red.
So, Press Taylor's taking a lot of heat, and we
He
sort of
should.
touched on it.
He should.
I don't think he should.
Really?
I don't think no. Now I'm not saying. Okay, let me backtrack. Heat, sure. The amount of heat, the instant heat, the instant reaction to jump to it's Press Taylor's fault, I completely disagree with. Now, like what you said, maybe we should have chipped. Maybe run some more. Okay, got no problem with criticism of that type, but I think we need to understand that the offense they are running is the same offense that they ran before. Now I know, and this is I think what has happened here is like we have had issues on offense, and it coincides with Press Taylor becoming the one who actually calls the plays. But they're all going through Peterson's headset. This is the offense they both come together and scheme up. I think it just happens to coincide. It happens to be the story. I think he happens to be the whipping boy right now. Because here's the thing. People go, "Oh, we should have the play you brought up. Trev keeps it and runs and loses 4 yards. What is your confidence level that if he handed it into the, and I don't remember who the running back was, I don't know if it's ETN or handed it to them, what is your confidence level that he scores? Now I know hindsight, we know you prefer that, obviously, but what is your confidence level that he's going to score?
I would say 100%.
That the running back's going to score?
Nope. I got 3 tries to QB sneak it. Soon as they called that flag, I'm hurrying. I'm in his ear. QB sneak, get up there, go. QB sneak, get up there, go. I want them up there fast. I want them to wait just long enough for the line to get set and for the players to get set. And I want them to QB sneak. QB sneak it 3 in a row. QB sneak it 3 in a row. Whatever you got to do. Just keep doing that. Don't give them time to substitute. Don't give them time to think about it.
How many times did we QB sneak against the Colts?
Twice.
How many did we make? I don't remember. I'm legitimately asking the
question. I think we got 1.
I think that's my recollection too, and I think the one that we got was we barely got.
Barely give me a touchdown.
Look, first of all, it wasn't inches. It was like 1.5 yards. Barely isn't going to get you a touchdown. I have zero confidence at this point that offensive line is going to be able to move those guys. I have zero confidence.
It's funny, in preseason they were wearing those shirts that were like 31st line in the league. You know what? Maybe they were happy and prideful about being 31st in the league.
You know what's funny? I posted that on the Twitter account. A picture of that. I said, and I'm like, do you guys, where are you at on this now? I mean, because it's like, oh, they're dissing us. No, they don't hate you. They're just looking at what you perform.
Right, this is what you've earned.
You've performed this way. The PFF grades for the game, I mean, were abysmal. 4 out of our 5 offensive linemen were horrible. Horrible.
Was Little our best?
Yeah, Little's our best. And that's the thing, and you know that. I don't even have to tell you who it is. You know just by watching the game who stinks. And Harrison, in fairness to Harrison, he's a rookie, and he's going to struggle, which, bears the point about maybe, there's this thing called chipping. You can use your tight end. This would be fair criticism of Press. Have you ever heard of this, Press? I mean, is this something that your offense does? I think the problem that we've got is that this is the same, in my mind, this is the same offense that they used to great effect to do well last year. But I think what's happened is this. Look, 31st, and an offseason showed this, right? You just brought it up. They're literally wearing shirts, 31st offensive line in the league, as if that's some sort of slight to them. But what that tells you is that the book is out on the team. And if I'm a defensive coordinator and the players on defense, I know what to expect. If you think about last year, when we converted short yardage situations, how many of them were to the outside? Quite a bit. You think about it, quite a bit. There was some QB sneaks. There was some actual running plays where we converted. But for the most part, I mean, if you think about even the Chargers game, the ETN run, where we got like, I don't know, 20 yards on a 4th-and-1 conversion where he ran to the outside because everybody's selling out to the inside. Well, guess what? You don't have to do that against this team. You don't have to. So if you just wait and kind of catch the edges, you know, they'll run to you basically. And I think that's what's going on is teams, you know, that's a difficult situation to put defenses in. And I think we've eased the pressure up because they realize our front linemen are fine. Well, they don't need our help. We can make sure that they don't run to the outside now. And teams are, and players and coaches are saying that's the book on the Jaguars. And here's the deal. Do you know where we stand in the league on 3rd downs conversions?
I think we're like 3 out of 12.
Where we're worst in the league. Out of 32 teams, we are the worst in the league. And we're tied for worst in the fourth down conversions.
Now,
and this coming from a guy who likes to do 4th down conversions or
but is that different? Is that different than last year? If it is, then the only difference is Press Taylor. Then where's that? So maybe Press Taylor's taking the heat that he actually is cooking.
No, I think. Well, no. Here's the difference. We are so take this game in is perfect. When they decide to go to the outside, when they decide to pass on what should be the run up the middle, all you need is a yard play that other teams do. When they do that, they are not succeeding. Last year they did. That's why I would say those outside plays and those passes, and in fairness, like, so some of the stuff that happened in the Kansas City game, Trevor goes back to pass. Chris Jones is immediately there because Anton Harrison can't hold him for a second, you know? He just goes right around him, which is weird to me because the knock on Harrison coming out was he's a good pass protector, and it was all run blocking was his issue. And I thought, oh, crap, you know? That's not going to help us. We need run blocking too, you know? But he was getting abused, and by a defensive, and that's the other thing that highlights, and you may want to go here too, highlights our defensive end situation. When Kansas City could take their defensive tackle and move him at defensive end, and he's 10 times the pass rusher our defensive end is. That we at number 1 overall, and I know he's not playing bad. Okay, it's not to say he's playing bad. He's just not dynamic. I mean, and it's not unexpected. This is what we thought, right? When you draft this guy, it's like he didn't do this in school.
Here's
Why
what
did you expect anything else?
We drafted a number 1 overall defensive end to stop the run. That's his best attribute because the guy can't pass rush. He can't.
And
he seems like a good dude. I don't want to harp on him or jump down on him.
He's not sudden. He's not sudden.
But the dude can't pass rush.
Like, I would love to see the random athletic score for Chris Jones. Probably should have looked at it. I should have thought about that. Compared this whole crap where it's like random athletic scores. And this is a bulky problem, you know, and he's done good recently, so I'm not bashing bulky again immediately when we have one bad game. But I think that's overplayed, you know, and we talked about this. I mean, it's like number 1 overall, you have to combine that. It can't just be your RAS. It has to be, well, that plus you're a football player. Not only are you an amazing athlete, you can play football. That's number 1.
It does
overall.
matter, yeah.
Not a guy who goes, well, in the right scheme.
Well, because if that was the case, Gene Smith would have succeeded. He would take athletes from small schools. Be like, yeah, but they would never develop.
Gene Smith's problem was he would take them 3 rounds too early too. So it's not like I had no problem with some of his picks. It was just when he took them. Like, if you want to pick up a punter, you don't draft him. You know, if you like Brian Anger, that's great. But he's still punting to this day. He's a good punter, but not in the 3rd round, Gene. You know. You could get Cecil Shorts in round 6, man. You don't need to get them in round 3 or wherever. Stuff like that. It's just like you draft guys wrong spot. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, I think the issue that we've got mainly to, as far as like the Kansas City game's concerned, when you have an offensive line when that they have no confidence in this team, and that's the thing that's weird too. And I'm glad you brought the 31. They're wearing these shirts like, oh, like we know who we are. And I'm thinking, now I'm like, I don't think that your team believes you. Like, did they believe that when they put those shirts on?
You're right. The management doesn't believe them. The other players are probably like, they're effing trash. And yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to tell your teammate that they suck, you know, because that just creates dissension in the locker room. So you don't tell them that. But privately, you're telling everybody, these guys are trash. And management's probably, Press Taylor, well, we can't run for a yard.
I'm telling you, it has to. It would affect me. Look, if you're,
and I agree, but there are certain situations where I think you just battle ram it. Like, I mean, come on, it's 1 yard, and it's a touchdown. Just.
Well, you remember, I was kind of like, and I can still complain about this to a certain extent, but there was that drive against the Colts where they brought Tank Bigsby in, and they ran up the middle, and then they ran up the middle, and then they ran up the middle, and then they ran up the middle, and they couldn't get 10 yards on 4 runs, and then they turned the ball over on downs because.
Okay, how about the Philly push? Can we do that?
I mean, that, of course we can do that, and that. I get it. I mean, why are they not doing? I don't know. Like, I don't understand it. It's not that I'm trying to defend the offensive philosophy or play calling. And on that point, and I don't know, you know, I just got done saying I don't know that the coaching staff, and you talked about how players probably don't even believe in them either, the offensive line and their ability to push people. But I want to focus on Peterson's comments because you talked about the Philly special and this idea that Peterson could, should be doing things a little bit differently, right? So one of the things he said about the offensive line, so they asked him about the offensive line today, and he said that we were worried about the complexity, about Kansas City blitzing, and the things we focused on were identification and communication. And he said this after saying he's not worried about the offensive line. Adamantly. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm not worried about the offensive line. We went into this game, and we were focusing on identification and communication. And in looking back at the film, they did a really good job at identification and communication, just like we talked about. What the problem was execution. Now, I don't know how that comes off to everybody, and if you're listening to this, you tell me in the chat if you disagree with me and my ability to understand English comprehension. But if you tell me identification and communication was good, and that's what you focused on as a coaching staff, that tells me you coached them up. And if they couldn't do it, that tells me they lack the ability to do it. And it isn't an X's and O's issue. It's a Jimmy's and Joe's issue at that point. You tell me, is there another way to explain that?
No, there's not. Because if you coach them up and they don't execute, that's on the players.
So he literally said the players are not the problem. The players,
are the problem. Hey, but that's coach speak. That's why you guys come and listen to us, because nobody can decipher it like my man.
Yeah, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm like, and again, we think alike sometimes. So maybe we're the ones that don't understand. But I think he did. I think he tripped himself up in coach speak there, trying to defend the players. He actually sort of
threw
gave
him under
away
the bus. Yeah.
the thing. It's like, yeah, you don't have the horses. I mean, you just don't have the guys that are able to, and that's a shame too. Because let me say this, Brandon Sheriff, come on, man. It's unfortunate because we get these guys, and now this is the third one. I know Norwell was the other. I'm trying to remember who the one before Norwell was, where we get these guys from other teams. We pay guards. I don't know why. That's not in my mind. I don't think when I think free agent signing, I don't think guard. But especially now, they've been a failure. And I'm tired of hearing, well, Sheriff wasn't good last year, but he played through injury. And it's like, great. Like, I'm happy he did that. But I don't know when he's healthy and when he's not.
Right.
Either way, he's either not there or he's not good. And that's not worth the money.
The two play styles look exactly the same.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't tell a difference on the field when he's healthy and when he's hurt.
You've got a guy who's your veteran. Now, theoretically, you've got this great veteran presence beside your rookie, which is great. That makes all the sense in the world. It helps him. The problem is he's just as bad as the rookie is. I mean, what do you do with that? Fortner? Let's talk about Fortner.
Fortner's awful, man.
Dude, Fortner stinks, man.
Yep.
Fortner stinks. And I wanted to go, well, second team, second year. But here's the thing about Fortner. And I'm pretty sure about this. I should have looked it up before, but I'm pretty positive about this. Fortner was at Kentucky. It's not like a guy who came out his sophomore year, junior year. This guy was like, a
fifth year senior.
Yeah, he's like a fifth or sixth year senior, man. Like he was living his college life. He was living his best college life now, for a while. He's 25 years old now. So I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he was at Kentucky a little bit longer. He should have been well seasoned at this point. He's some of these guys are still growing into their bodies, but I don't know that Fortner is. Like, aren't you a man now or a full man? Or you're starting to go downhill at this point. Like, you're starting to head toward 30, dude. You're not strong yet? How long have you been in the weight? Did they have weights at Kentucky? Were you able to, what was your off-season program this time? I mean, ask Josh Allen. Josh Allen's strong. He was at Kentucky. Did they have weight? How was the weight room? Because Fortner is not good. And he's not been good. I thought he would be good. Like, he played okay at times, and this tape looked good. And you think, okay, he's rounding out, but he's not, though. Like, he's not. And then Barch, I think PFF said Ben Barch. I mean, what is this guy known for? Like a smoothie or something? And Ben Barch was the best of those four. If Ben Barch is the best of the four bad players, you've got a bad line. Full stop.
That's right. You've heard it here. They won't tell you. The local media won't tell you. They won't come down on them. They won't tell you they all suck. We'll tell you they suck. That's what we're here for, to tell you what they want, because we don't get paid.
I think they say it without saying it half the time.
I don't listen to the radio for coach speak.
I don't know, man. Does it do anything for you to know that they're mad? Apparently the team is really mad now.
No, it's bullshit. You know why it's bullshit? They're just saying that because the fans are pissed off. because they had a chance and everybody knew it. It was being billed. Like, all right, Jacksonville can get up there. So the fans got hyped. And what happened? Almost same old Jags. I'm not calling them the same old Jags, but almost like the same old Jags. So now they're saying, well, we're mad. You ain't fucking mad. If you were mad, you would have won.
What does this do to your confidence? Like how it should shake your confidence some.
No, it doesn't.
It
honestly.
doesn't?
It does
Okay.
not. No.
It does me a little bit, but not
No.
much. I mean,
No, because I still believe that Doug Peterson will figure out a way to crutch the O-line in a way that we can still have a formidable offense. We will score points at some point. He'll get into rhythm.
yeah. No, I agree.
He's good enough to get into a rhythm. ETN will still go off here and there when he can get to the outside. When one of our tight ends blocks the outside. So we still have a potent offense. We still have what looks like a really good defense. We can't affect the quarterback. I mean, we can affect him, but we can't affect him. You know? So it's like we can run to his face, but we can't put up our
Yeah,
arm.
we ain't gonna block the shot, but we'll put our arm up and go, hey,
Yeah, we'll
hopefully.
wave to him. Like,
And then
hey!
Mahomes will drain the three and go, hey,
Yeah.
appreciate that.
That's exactly what it is. So we do have issues, and it's on both parts of the line, or on both lines. But really, I still think we can play upper caliber football
Yeah. No, I think
because
that's true.
every team has issues. Every team,
Especially on the offensive line. So, I mean, that is something that Peterson said that I absolutely agree with. Offensive line play in the league is pretty bad right now. And
Yeah.
I think that one of the problems, that is happening is I think we've seen the emphasis on a few things in the draft and player acquisition. Everybody wants the receiver. Of course, everybody wants the quarterback. People will draft safeties
DN,
high,
corners.
corners. No, very few focus on the offensive line early. And I'm not saying you necessarily have to. It is what it is. If other teams aren't, then you can probably wait a little bit and get a good player. But I'm trying to think, like Fortner would somebody who comes to mind that we actually drafted decently high. But for the most part, I mean, we're Ben Barches and Shatley's and these guys, you're sort of getting raw guys. I'm assuming, like when you do your player evaluations, these guys in school, you kind of, and some of them are coming, they're scraps off of other teams and
So
stuff.
I agree. It's almost like they wait till when you should be drafting special teams players to draft your O-line. I completely agree. But here's my issue. If you're going to do that, and you're going to sort of have to bring in guys to develop, right? Or work with here or there. Why not bring in 20 of them? I'd have 10 tackles, 4 centers, 6 guards. I'd bring in just 20 of them. And I'd bring them in for the rookie weekend, and I would have like 6 people just work out those 20. And I'd be like, give me the top 5. Bring the top 5 in. All right, so now there's my top 5. And then I'd go, you know what I'm saying? Cast a wide net. If you're going to play low numbers or high numbers or whatever, however you want to call it, then you just cast a wider net. And then eventually you will get 1 or 2 of the players who deserve to be developed instead of these people who are sort of just cream puffs.
Yeah, I think that I don't know if that's necessarily possible because I think I don't think the numbers work too well to be able to do that, and I don't know that I don't know how you would evaluate them against competition. I guess you could bring them in and see who looks the best in shorts and stuff.
You got game tape. You have different.
Well, here's the deal. here's my thought on that. If you don't draft decently high linemen who have the game tape and have something on film, and if you're waiting to bring these guys in who kind of are measurably the type of guy who looks like maybe a small school tackle, and you're like, oh, he could be a guard in the NFL, and it works. It does sometimes, but I think what we're running, and I'm talking about not just our team, I'm talking about the NFL in general. I think one of the things they're running into now is they're devaluing the talent acquisition portion. They're hoping to bring in these numbers, guys and street free agents and things that they can bring in and evaluate, because it's not a skilled position per se, right? So you bring them in, and the other thing is that you're hoping that you get a guy that you can coach up. The problem is they don't have time. They don't have They don't have enough practices. You can't coach. You think about the offensive line, it's all about technique and coordination with one another. I mean, they can't even play with the people they're going to be playing with. They don't get practice time against decent linemen. Think about our defensive line. If our interior offensive line's terrible and they're practicing against them every day, what happens when they go up against good offensive linemen?
Yeah, we get stonewalled
because they're not used to it, and they might not. In other words, it's not bringing the best out of our defensive line either. When you have
so what
that
you're
weak
saying,
link.
what you're saying is iron can't sharpen iron when iron doesn't practice.
Right, exactly, and I think the whole league's dealing with this. That they've made a decision. Like the running backs, they've said we don't need to focus on running backs, at least in regards to free agency and contracts at the back end. The best thing to do is get them up front. And I think there's something going on with offensive line that's making it to where, it kind of stinks right now. And I think defensive linemen, because it's more athletic, you can just get, I can see how that would translate faster than offensive linemen. And I think the teams to look out for are the teams that got good offensive lines. I mean, Philly's got a good offensive line. I think 49ers do. Cowboys got a pretty good offensive line. So these teams that have that sort of foundation, I think.
You only named 3 NFC teams, right? Philly, 49ers, and Cowboys. So that's what it. So the AFC, we went quarterbacks. The NFC went offensive line.
I'm sure there's AFC teams with offensive lines. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we go up against the Titans, because if there's any team that may have a worse offensive line than us, it's the Titans. So
I'm sure they'll be coached up and somehow execute.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill will be able to throw inside the end zone, not outside the end zone, So, yeah, that's the biggest thing. I mean, when you get, I think you had 2 different bad things going on there. The offensive line issues are starting to rear their heads in regards to the play calling. And if you're going to have to play this finesse game, you need to execute that game, because if you don't, you look like idiots throwing laterals all over the place. Well, then you're going to get a lot of criticism. So I think that's what we're dealing with. So we're playing Houston. You want to move to that? Any thoughts on Houston? It's hard to say. I mean, I haven't watched Houston.
So they got Damian Williams. They have C.J. Stroud. I think that was the one they drafted. Damian Williams is a good running back. Houston has a few good players, but they're still rebuilding, and they still have a rookie quarterback and a rookie coach. They have not started off very well this year. And personally, I think they're just building for the future. Does it scare me? No. Because why should it? What have they done?
They beat us all the time.
Well,
beat us last year.
Yeah, well.
So, I mean, I don't know if there is a good lining in this. Maybe the fact that, they're mad makes them focus more. I don't know. I mean, I poo-pooed that. Game. Hey, I poo-pooed that when it came to the Chiefs getting beat by the Lions and saying, I don't care that, I don't think it matters one way or the other. So my thought is it wouldn't have mattered because guess what? And you know what? I'm right about that now that I'm talking myself into it because it didn't matter.
You guys hear that? He's talking himself into it. We're in trouble now.
Well, I mean, think about it. They didn't play a great game. So this whole thing about them losing to the Lions, they're going to be ready to go now. No, they weren't ready to go.
They weren't.
But we just weren't ready to go even worse than they were. That's the thing. So I don't know what it means to execute. I don't know what it means to be in the proper mindset to execute. I'm not sure. I guess if they had, I guess these are guys are, I'm not guessing these guys are professionals. These guys are professionals, but I guess if it was quantifiable, they do it. That's the thing. Well, all the talk, it's like we're mad, play calling, offensive line, all this talk. I guess if they could fix it, if they knew what the problem was, they would fix it. But I don't think they know what the problem is.
It may be a little bit of everything.
Yeah, because I don't.
Trevor,
that's the execution part. I don't know. I don't understand that.
But here's the deal. Last year, I went through and I'm like, same old Jags, and then they started to change. And then I was like, well, then they got to do this. I was marking shit off my list. They marked off everything on my list that I said they had to do. This is not the same old Jags. Same old Jags come out and lose to Houston. This team will not come out and lose to Houston. So does Houston bother me? Bothers me as much about just like Indianapolis. Indianapolis didn't bother me. I didn't think
it's not that you lose though, Mike. It's how you lost though. That's the thing. And I think it, you're probably right. You're probably right because that's the thing. It's like you had an off game. If there's anything we can say about it, it was an off game. That isn't going to be the pattern. But here's the problem. I would say the other thing that I thought about when I'm watching this game take place and we have all these opportunities in the first half and we're just squandering them. You go, well, this is going to bite us in the butt, but this is a team that's a second half team. They always have, they always come back in the second half. Detroit's the only game I can think of where they didn't. Every game they were in, basically come back and win or whatever. So you have some confidence there that this game isn't over. It's like, even when Kansas City started scoring, you're like, okay, it doesn't matter. Good. Complexion, we'll start scoring too. That's what you thought. Here's the thing that I want to see. If this team needs to take, and it was a bad game, just put it aside. That doesn't mean if Houston gets ahead that they will do the same thing and not turn it on. I would expect they'll turn it on, win the game, and we'll go, oh crap, still things to work on. When are they going to get it worked on? Almost lost to Houston. Here's the thing that I think is a pattern that I would really love to see change. And if they can change this, they will be a really good team. That is this. They need to score early. Can you remember, under Doug Peterson, have we ever scored in our first drive? I honestly don't think we have.
Not often. And if we have, I mean, all I can say is Trevor Lawrence too. And Press Taylor.
It's weird too, because you see teams that'll do that where they're the opposite. They have a what do you call it? Scripted deal. They'll come out, they'll look great. Second drive, 3 and out. And then all of a sudden it's just this real slugfest, or not slugfest, but this, it looked like a barn burner, and then all of a sudden it bogged down. And I just don't think we've ever done that. We've never come out early on a team. And here's the interesting thing too. If we did do that, I don't know that would help us. Here's why. Are we going to be able to take advantage of being ahead and we're going to run the ball on people with our great ground pound game? No. We're going to still have to pass. We can't.
No, we can still we can't pressure the quarterback.
What we would have to do is just keep scoring, and playing the wide open game. That's what we have to lean into. And that's why I don't necessarily fault Press and Peterson at this point, because it's like I have zero confidence this offensive line can do the basics that offensive lines are supposed to be able to do in the run game. And I think that if Trevor would have executed the game plan properly, we would have won that game with the play calls that Press Taylor put out there. Now, maybe they get rid of those laterals. I don't know. Look, I mean, it's bad enough that you're throwing, not downfield, but do you have to throw to the side and behind? I mean, come on, guys. That's one thing they can change, I think. But so, yeah, I'm not worried about Houston
Maybe
either,
we'll
I
see.
guess,
What,
but
how
we'll
do you
see.
feel about the Texans game? Okay. Yeah, I'm not worried about them. So if we lose to them, I'm worried.
Yeah.
I am worried. Now, these guys they're professional ball players. They get paid too. But if we are the Jags, I think we are, we should not lose to Houston. So therefore, I'm not worried about it.
Well, yeah, and then they need to
That
make
makes
some
sense.
adjustments, and they need to find plays that work and why they didn't work this time, and figure it out, and stick to things that work, man. Because that's the thing with all these gadgety plays. How many is the playbook too big? Maybe that's a question that needs to be asked. When you're doing you got laterals, you got runs to wide receivers, throwing back to the running backs, kind of weird stuff going on. It's like maybe the playbook's too vast. Maybe scale it down some. I don't know. Just spitballing. But I guess that's
Not this guy,
we're
but
done
I ain't worried.
spitballing. We're just like everyone else out there, looking at a
All
team,
right,
trying to figure it
want to
out.
thank you guys, for listening. We ain't had no success. So if you have success, hey, put it in the comments. We'll respond.
All right. Well, we'll be back after the next game.
About all I got.
Duval!
Still got to rep them. Nothing's wrong. Just one game.
Dude, who are you? I like this, man. An optimistic
brother.
Mike. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
You don't want to see me next week if they lose.